Have you ever tried to learn to play a new instrument? To become better at a sport you play? Or do you desire to become more proficient in your field of study? I'm a psychology major, and I've always been fascinated by why people do the things they do, and why some are more talented than others. A book called Outliers, The Story of Success by Malcolm Gladwell allowed me to further understand why these things happen. I've decided to share with you the 10,000 hour rule, a concept he highlighted in his book that might help you all in your lives. I want you to know and understand what the 10,000 hour rule is, why it is relevant, and why some psychologists say it might not be as useful as we may think. At the conclusion of this speech, I think you will be as impressed as I was by the information surrounding the 10,000 hour rule. First, what is the 10,000 hour rule? The 10,000 hour rule was initially coined by psychologist Dr. K. Anders Ericsson, and is said to be the amount of time spent practicing a specific skill in order to achieve a level of mastery associated with being a world-class expert. Dr. Ericsson conducted a study of violinists in which he separated them into three groups. The first were those who were considered the stars, or the ones most likely to become world-class soloists. The second were those deemed to be, just good. The third group were those who desired to become teachers of the violin in the public school system. Ericsson found that those in Group 1 spent roughly 10,000 hours practicing the violin, while those in the good group spent about 8,000 hours, and those in the teacher group spent just over 4,000 hours practicing. Ericsson also applied this to a group of pianists and found the same results, 10,000 hours of practice leading to a level of mastery. Now that you have a little background on what the 10,000 hour rule is, let's explore its relevance and the role practice plays in all of this. Malcolm Gladwell popularized this theory by Ericsson in his 2008 book Outliers, by furthering Ericsson's work and applying it to better-known figures such as Steve Jobs and Bill Gates. Gates, who spent an enormous amount of time on a coding terminal in his early childhood all the way up through high school, gained his 10,000 hours of practice just at the right time, which led to the developing of his Microsoft software around the boom of the computer software industry in 1975. Jobs was given an opportunity to tinker with and work with computer parts by Bill Hewlett, owner of Hewlett-Packard Computers, or HP, also around the same time the computer industry was beginning to boom in 1975. Jobs spent most of his childhood and high school years building and rebuilding computers from spare parts. His 10,000 hours brought us Apple computers and all of its technological innovation. Because they had put in the hours necessary to become a mastery of software development and computer engineering, they were set up perfectly to become tycoons in their industry. Practice is essential to anyone who wants to master the piano, golf, chess, business, psychology, or anything else for that matter. However, many of you may be thinking 10,000 hours is a lot of work, and yeah, you're right. Gladwell uses this average, 20 hours a week for 10 years, to give a person right around 10,000 hours of total practice, which is a lot of time invested in one specific thing. However, many of us start young in whatever it is we do, and depending on how serious we are, we end up with 10,000 hours around the time we graduate high school. As I said, practice is essential, but deliberate practice, along with a highly skilled instructor, is absolutely necessary. Deliberate practice is done with a specific intent to improve or perfect a certain aspect of whatever it is you're trying to master. Without a highly skilled instructor, many of us would be mindlessly repeating unnecessary actions or the wrong thing entirely. Doing that would be a waste of your time because that doesn't lead to mastery. It simply leads to doing the wrong things extremely well. This is why we have teachers, coaches, and mentors to guide us on the right path. Guided participation by a teacher, coach, or mentor is crucial to the success of anyone trying to master anything because they offer us knowledge we don't currently have and are striving to acquire. So far, we've seen why this is beneficial, but now let's look at the counter-arguments. You should understand that some people think this is really far-fetched. One objection to this proposal is genetics and the nature of practice. In a book review, Michael Shermer provides this quote: "In the early 20th century, psychologist Edward Thorndike discovered that while practice makes a difference, some people benefit from practice more than others, meaning that some naturally gravitate towards whatever it is they're trying to learn. This is where the term talent comes into play, as I quoted in the introduction. Given their genetic strengths, they are able to comprehend and apply different skills to different situations more easily than others." Another counterargument simply states that 10,000 hours is an arbitrary number that has no real relevance. A study done on chess players revealed that some players were able to achieve the level of Grand Master in just 3,000 hours, whereas some others were unable to achieve this in 20,000 hours, which led some to believe that there is a major variance among amount of hours spent in actual skill level. I began by pointing out what the 10,000 hour rule is and gave you some example of how it has been applied. I offered you a glimpse of both sides and their opinions for and against this rule, so I hope to have showed you that this can be applied to a wider variety of things in your life. Whether you choose to believe the 10,000 hour rule or not, practice is an essential part of anything you are trying to learn, and don't forget to be deliberate.